everybody that's on already. Hello, happy Tuesday. Hello, I can see 3 people are on. G'day Sheila. Sheila's watching. Mrs J's on. Hi Mrs J. Cara and Casey, hello. Hi Mum. Oh, Freya's had some rich tea biscuits. You're right, they're my absolute fave. Hi Miss Potter. Hi Tom. Hi Lauren. Sorry, cat bottom in the camera. Oh, Lauren's on the marshmallows. Mmm. Keep commenting. If I don't say hi, it's because it hasn't come up on mine, so post it again so that I miss everyone. Oh, hi Darcy. Darcy's on. Hi Mrs Hammond. And Jamie and Thomas if you're watching too. Happy birthday, Jamie. Jamie's birthday. Happy birthday. One more. Oh. Hi, Mrs. Henderson. Hi, Olivia. Hope you've had a nice day, Liv. Hope you've had a nice day. Too many treats. Yeah, you're right. I'm going to put them away. I'm going to put them away while I just go and get my cup of tea. Hi, Mrs. Henderson. And hi, Caris and Bear the cat. Jack, you're eating Mitch teas again. Good boy. Hope you've had a nice day, Jack. Yeah, Miss Potter, Albie tripped over. Miss Potter, he tripped over your bowl. That's what he stepped in it and skidded. I'll put your bottle away from the camera. Oh, Ave is on. Hi, Ave. Hi, Lucia. Hope you've had a nice day, Lucia. was just going to see if there's a way that I can look at other comments. If anyone's commented so far but I haven't said anything, will you just type it again? Because I don't know if it's the same ones or if it's something to do with whether you type it on a laptop or whether you type it on a phone. Hi Miss Paul. Hi Miss Watson. And hi Freddie. Xbox with Jack again. Good. Hope you've had a nice day, Freddie. I loved your email. Thanks for sending it to me. Hi Mrs. Reese. Hi Mrs. Williams. Hi Mrs. Green. Shout out to Miss Potter. Ooh, Lucy is making sourdough bread with her brothers. Lovely. I think a lot of people have gone into bread making during the lockdown. I suppose people can buy bread ingredients that aren't going to go off, whereas if you buy bread, it goes stale. Not something I've done, but would be interested. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Reese. Hope you've had a nice day, probably playing with Rocky, Ryan, I imagine. Mrs. Williams, where's Albus? He's here. Brooks made cakes, lovely. Hi, Mrs. Naylor. Hi, Josh. Happy birthday, Josh. Oh, I gave flowers to the neighbour. That's nice. Hi, Blaine. You're trying to push me away, Al. Ellie Mae and Lawson. Hi, Ellie Mae and Lawson. Ooh, Josh is having pizza for tea. Hi, Lizzie. Hi, Mr. Pearson. Oh, Mrs. Williams, I don't think I know about Rosie and Arnie. Maybe you send me a message and tell me about Rosie and Arnie, because I don't know about them. But they sound nice. They sound furry. What time is it? Okay, I think we'll start. So, our book, for anyone who didn't know about this and is watching because they heard Mrs. Moody say about it, then you might want to start. This is our fourth one, so you might want to start with the ones that are already on the Facebook page so you can go from the start of the book. So this is our book, The Girl Who Stole an Elephant by Nisrana Farouk. And so far, Chaya has stolen some jewels and then her best friend Neil got arrested for it. And then her and another girl, Nawa, who they didn't really like, but then I think they're going to end up being friends, helped to get Neil out of prison because he was going to be executed, he was going to be killed. So they helped to get him out of prison, and then she has just stolen Ananda, who's the king's royal elephant, and that's how they have escaped. So they've gone through the jungle on the back of Ananda. Nawa was quite scared, wasn't she? Because she'd never been on an elephant before, because she's from a different place. And they're not sure what they're going to do. They're going to a place called Gal, where they know Vijay and his family are, who's their friend. So they're trying to think of a plan, really, of what to do. Oh, Holly and Willow. Hi, Holly and Willow, if you're both watching. Okay, chapter 18. Chaya looked at Nawa, who was smoothing the beadwork on her shoe with a fingertip. She had gone quiet and didn't eat any more. Neil stood up, looking much better after the meal. Come on, we need to keep moving. We'll stop again when the sun goes down. Nawa sighed but got up too. She dusted sugar from her dress and trudged after Neil. Chaya climbed onto Ananda and they moved off. The sun beat down as the day got hotter and hotter. Once Chaya's foot is properly healed, you can ride the elephant, okay? Neil said to Nawa. Nawa nodded towards Ananda. I thought they could carry loads of weight. They can, said Neil, with their trunks. You should see the place where the master and I go to buy wood. Once the trees are cut down, it is elephants that lift and move the logs, and they get the elephants to put them in the river to transport them downstream. That's remarkable, said Nawa. I didn't know you could train them to do things like that. Oh, they can do all sorts. They're quite intelligent. But I don't think too many people are meant to ride them. That's why Chaya and you need to take turns. What about you? You should have a turn too. Oh, I'm used to walking long distances. I take cinnamon from my father to traders in different parts of the island when I'm not working for the master. Is your father a cinnamon peeler then? Yes, I used to do it too, until the master gave me a job in his workshop. What's it? Will you stop talking, Nawa? Said Chaya. Honestly, we're on the run here. Chaya really doesn't like Nawa, does she? Nawa glared up at Chaya. We're in the middle of a jungle, miles away from anyone. Still, you never know who's listening. And anyway, Neil doesn't want to talk. I don't mind, began Neil. He's just being polite, said Chaya to Nawa. Now, keep quiet. Nawa rolled her eyes. Ananda padded soundlessly through the jungle, his muscles moving under his rough hide. Do you know if we're going the right way, Neil? Chaya asked. Yes, I've been watching the shadows changing, said Neil. We're heading south. It's a very clever way of knowing which way they're going, isn't it? Looking at the shadows. He must be looking at... We actually did that in science recently, my class, looking at the shadows at different times of the day, depending on where the sun is. He's clever. Is it going to be jungle all the way? Asked Nawa. About half of it, said Chaya, before Neil could answer. Serendib has a lot of jungle, said Nawa. Chaya huffed. What would you rather? Horrible dry deserts? I was just making some conversation. No need, we're fine without it. When evening fell, they came upon a cave, set above the ground on a thick ledge of rock. Finally! Chaya slid off Ananda and stretched. The day was much cooler now, and a chilly breeze blew through the trees. She stepped up onto the ledge. It was smooth and even, perfect for a fire. She looked in at the mouth of the cave and found it in near darkness. Hopefully no leopards, she said, savouring the gasp of horror from Nawa. This is a good place to stop for the night. There's the river too for drinking and washing. Neil hunted on the ground and picked up a rock. Let's make a fire. That way, if anything's in the cave, it should come out. While Neil struck rocks together, Chaya went and found sticks and branches for the fire. She laid them for him on the rocky ledge, and soon he'd got a fire roaring. He took a torch of burning wood into the cave. All clear, he shouted, his voice muffled and echoey. It's a very small cave, actually. No animals. Nawa had gone to explore their surroundings and came back with some wild jambu in a cone she'd made out of a large leaf. They eat a lot of jambu. Maybe we should Google if it's real. I bet it is real, but we should Google what kind of fruit it is. In my head, it's like a bit like a lychee, like something juicy in a spiky shell. But I have no idea. Google it. Homework from reading. Chaya pounced on them at once. Woohoo! Jambu! But this isn't enough for our meal. What else have you got there in your bags? There wasn't much left. They gave Ananda the remaining comb of plantains, which only left the sweets from earlier. The rest of Nawa's supplies consisted of things like bedsheets and toiletries. Chaya sighed. It was a wonder Nawa didn't bring her maid. Neil came back with a wild breadfruit, which he cut up using his carpentry knife. He sharpened the ends of some sticks and passed them to Chaya and Nawa, and they stuck chunks of breadfruit on and toasted them in the fire. Said Chaya, popping a piece of hot breadfruit in her mouth. It was toasted and crispy on the outside, moist and pillowy inside. They are nice, said Noah, nibbling hers delicately. Neil threw Ananda a chunk of breadfruit, which he caught neatly in his trunk and polished off in a second. Neil laughed. It's probably like eating a peanut to him. He needs something more substantial. As if in answer, Ananda knocked down a plantain tree with his tusks. He began stripping off its foliage bit by bit, eating almost the whole tree in a short time. There you go then. Chaya laughed and rested on her elbows, munching on the toasted breadfruit. Father must be so worried, said Noah. I wish I could let him know that I'm okay. Neil stared into the fire. I think we all wish that. He threw another branch onto the flames and the fire sparked up. What about your mother? She died 3 years ago, said Noah. Chaya looked up. I'm sorry to hear that, said Neil. Thank you, said Noah. What about you, Chaya? No mother either. Died when I was a baby. Father will be worried, but at least he knows the situation. Really? Neil stared at her. He knew you were breaking into jail. What was his reaction? Well, I couldn't tell him to his face, could I? I left a note at home when I came to rescue you. I figured if something went wrong, he'd better know everything. How do you even explain everything that's happened in a note? Asked Noah. What did you say? I can tell you exactly what I said, actually. Chaya sat up and cleared her throat, striking a dramatic pose. I wrote it so many times I have it memorised. Dear Father, it wasn't Neil. I am the jewel thief. I stole the jewels during the feast at the palace, when I broke into the Queen's quarters and took them from a table by her bed. I wanted to help Vijay's family pay the medicine man for treating his leg. If I admitted to it, I knew the king would never believe that I acted alone, and you'd be in danger because of me. And then Neil got arrested right in front of me. But today I'm going to rescue him. If something happens and I'm caught, I think you should know what happened and why. Please don't be disappointed in me. Your loving daughter, Chaya. P.S. This isn't really important in the grand scheme of things, but I skipped school the last 2 days. Noah gasped and fell about laughing when Chaya delivered the final line. Even Neil chuckled and shook his head. You really are something else, Chaya. So you were telling the truth. Neil had nothing to do with it, said Noah. Have you done this before, Chaya? Chaya nodded. Quite a few times for different things. Someone in our village has his house destroyed in the monsoons and no one could help him. My old teacher from school got ill and lost her eyesight, so I had to give up work. Then she had nothing to live on. Also, one of the farmers was accidentally killed by a wild elephant that destroyed his crops. His widow needs help with money sometimes. It's for things like that. Who do you steal from, and what sort of things? Rich people from the city, of course. That's the advantage of living so close to it. Small things like ivory ornaments and silver betel trays. I doubt they even notice they're gone. She tossed a breadfruit piece into her mouth. Neil sighed. No need to brag, Chaya. Look where all this has got us. Still, said Noah, it all sounds rather good fun. Chaya sputtered over her breadfruit, almost choking on it. Really, Noah was the most surprising person. Neil groaned. Trust me, Miss Noah, this episode has been anything but fun. Do you ever regret the stealing? Asked Noah after a pause. Even though it's from the rich? Chaya chewed her food slowly. She noticed Neil waiting keenly for her answer. Sometimes, yes. Is your family not rich then? Your father is the headman of Narissa. Of course not. A headman is just a representative from the village. Every village has one. If there's an issue, the headman takes it to the palace on the people's behalf, that kind of thing. He gets a small wage and certain privileges, that's all. Tell me about stealing the Queen's jewels. Noah leaned forward, her expression eager in the glow of the fire. What made you take them? Chaya shrugged. It's not like the royals have ever earned any of their wealth. When I saw that blue sapphire, my hands automatically grabbed the lot. Blue's my favourite colour, and there wasn't a lot of time for thinking. Noah looked impressed. Weren't you afraid of getting caught? Not really. Not a lot at that point. Who needs so much stuff anyway? It made me mad rather than afraid. Noah pondered this for a while. Do you think the king would let you off if he knew that you stole to help his people? Chaya snorted. Not a chance. The king is too paranoid about his position and would worry that would make him look weak. Don't forget, he banished his own half-brother as a child because he saw him as a threat. A threat? Why? The king isn't of full royal blood, said Neil, but his half-brother, Senna, is. Chaya nodded. He was afraid the people would believe Senna had the greater claim to the throne. So where's Senna now? Chaya shrugged. He was sent away 12 years ago. The young prince, his little sister, and their small entourage were banished by ship. They were never heard of again. But what happened to them? No one knows. There have been rumours for years that the prince has returned and is plotting the king's overthrow. The king probably wishes he'd killed them all instead now. Now I gasped. He sounds horrible, but I love these stories. Tell me about the queen. I don't know if there's much to say about her. She has a nice room and too many jewels and wouldn't have missed the ones I took. Naua laughed. Firelight danced at the mouth of the cave and everything felt safe for the moment. Chaya was even beginning to feel sleepy. Right, we should turn in, said Neil. We have an Anda to guard us as we sleep. The inside of the cave glowed dimly from the dying embers of the fire. Chaya stretched out on the cool floor, which was hard, but not uncomfortable. She could hear Naua close by, her beaded dress scraping on the ground as she curled up to sleep. She tossed a sheet over to Chaya in the dark. There was a thump from outside as Ananda settled down for the night. Chaya felt a rush of affection for him. He was her getaway vehicle first, saving her from the king's men. Then he carried her all that time through the jungle while she rested her ankle. Now he was their very own guard elephant, lying outside in the dark while they drifted off to sleep. Oh, that was quite a nice long chapter there. That's probably the longest one we've had. I'll just see who else is on. Harley's on. Hi, Harley. Max is listening with Lizzie. That's good. Kezia and Gabby. Hi, Kezia and Gabby. Oh, my goodness. Our author is listening. Hello, Nizrana Farouk. It's a pleasure. Wow. I wonder if somebody has shared what we're reading. We absolutely love your book if you're still listening. We started it at school before the schools all shut, which is why we're carrying it on, but the children, all of them, absolutely love it. Wow, that's amazing. Michelle's on. Hi, Michelle. And Hannah. Hi, Hannah. Hi, Amy. Hope you've all had nice days, girls. Wow. Okay, let's carry on. Chapter 19. The next morning, Chaya returned to the cave, cool and refreshed. Where have you been? Asked Neil, rubbing his eyes and yawning. He'd been sleeping outside. To the river for a wash. Neil stretched. About time. I did that hours ago. Let's get ready and move on then. We can eat as we go. Naua, he shouted into the cave. Come on, we need to get started. River at the back for washing. Naua emerged from the cave, crumpled and yawning. River? Oh no, is it deep? Yeah, said Chaya. So deep you can see your ankles when you stand in it. She gathered up Naua's bags that were lying outside from the night before. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Naua tore off a pleated wrapper from a cake of soap as she set off for the river. Don't leave without me. Chaya went into the cave with one of the bags. Glad you're not calling her Miss Naua anymore, she said to Neil. The place was full of Naua's jasmine scent. That would be weird now. She's all right, you know. Neil picked up a sheet from the floor and handed it to Chaya. She's nice. Nice? Neil seemed to have forgotten that it was Naua who ruined everything by buying the box and taking the jewels. Chaya scrunched up Naua's sheet and rammed it into the bag. She went out of the cave into the sunshine. What is that smell, by the way? Neil sniffed the air. It's wherever Naua goes. Did that just cut out, anyone? It just came up and said the connection wasn't on. Hopefully we're still on. Oh, and Toby's on. Hi Toby, hope you've had a nice day. No idea, said Chaya, tying the two sacks together and putting them on Ananda. She must have stepped in something. Come on, we should get going. Neil picked up his mahout stick and Chaya hoisted herself on the kneeling elephant. Naua appeared and they all set off together. A few hours later, Chaya swapped places with Naua. I hope it didn't miss anything. A few people said it cut out. I'll just read back a little bit in case we missed anything. Oh, and Emily's on as well. Hi, Em. I've just seen. Keeps freezing, Olivia says. Mrs. Briscoe's on. Hi, Mrs. Briscoe. I'll read back a little bit in case when it cut out we missed a bit. So Neil has just been telling Chaya that he thinks that now is nice, but Chaya's still not convinced. Nice! Neil seemed to have forgotten that it was Nawa who ruined everything by buying the box and taking the jewels. Chaya scrunched up Nawa's sheet and rammed it into the bag. She went out of the cave into the sunshine. What is that smell, by the way? Neil sniffed the air. It's wherever Nawa goes. It's very familiar, but I can't place it. No idea, said Chaya, tying the two sacks together and putting them on Ananda. She must have stepped in something. Come on, we should get going. Neil picked up his mahout stick and Chaya hoisted herself onto the kneeling elephant. Nawa appeared and they all set off together. A few hours later, Chaya swapped places with Nawa. She slipped down the side of Ananda onto the rutted ground. Your turn, she said to Nawa. But less of the screeching, okay? Neil stopped and got Ananda to kneel down for Nawa. She screwed up her eyes tightly and got on. Do you think we're going the right way? Chaya asked Neil. Neil looked up at the sky and then the shadows of the trees. I think so. It's hard to know for certain. I hope we can go in as much of a straight line as possible, aiming for the sea to the south. We should come to a mountainous area of the jungle by tomorrow if we're on the right track. If we're not, we'll be in uncharted territory. Isn't she lucky that she's got Neil with her who can just guide them that way, just using the sun and the trees? Very clever. I know what my class would be saying at this point. They'd be saying, I bet if we went to the jungle, Toby would guide us through the trees by just looking at the sun and the shadows. Probably right. Chaya shuddered. The denser the jungle got, the more chances of leeches crawling up them. And they didn't have any salt. If they didn't have ready access to a fire, they'd just have to wait it out while the leeches sucked out their blood and fell off themselves. Leeches. We're fine for the moment, though, she said. But I wish it wasn't so hot today. And I'm thirsty, said Nawa. I wish we had water. We should come to water soon, said Neil. Hopefully. But an hour later the sun had risen higher and the day grew sweltering. Chaya's clothes stuck to her back. At least her ankle was better and she wasn't in pain anymore. Nawa seemed to be wilting on top of Ananda. We should have brought water with us. It's no use complaining now, said Chaya. You should have brought a bottle instead of bed sheets. Would have been more useful to us. Why didn't you bring one then, since you know everything? I was too busy rescuing Neil from death. So what? I brought stuff. I didn't see you complain when you were stuffing yourself with my food yesterday. Neil rubbed the back of his hand over his head, making his sodden hair stick up like a wet crow's feathers. Chaya, Nawa, please, can we... Bed sheets! Shouted Chaya. Seriously, who brings bed sheets when they're going on the run? Ananda grunted and shook his head. Will you two stop it? Said Neil. Look, we're all hot and thirsty, and so is Ananda. Can we stop wasting our energy on fighting and look for some water? Fine, said Chaya, glaring at Nawa. She turned to Neil. You know what? Ananda will know where the water is. I've heard the mahouts say elephants can smell water from miles away. Could that be true? No idea, but it's worth a try. She clapped Ananda on the back. Water! Go on, water, Ananda. Ananda tossed his head, then sped up a little. Hang on, Ananda, said Chaya. Hey, he's in a hurry. Let's get on. She hoisted herself up behind Nawa, quickly followed by Neil, and Ananda sped them on in their way, the sequins on Nawa's now dirty clothes blinking in the sunlight. Soon the trees opened up in front of them, and they saw an expanse of water, shimmering a silvery, mirrored green. Ananda bounded towards it. Stop him! Nawa shrieked. He's going straight for the water. What did you expect? Shouted Chaya. I would too. But he might drown. Elephants can swim, silly. No, they can't. Stop him. It's true, Nawa, said Neil. Don't worry. All the same, Nawa screamed when Ananda splashed into the river. He glided his way straight into the middle and inhaled a load of water. Nawa screamed again as his humongous head tipped back onto her to drink it. Come on, said Neil, let's get off. Ananda inhaled another trunkful of water and his trunk curled up over his head. The three of them screamed as a heavy shower of water drenched them. They were in hysterics as Ananda showered them again and again as he cooled himself off. Oh, you can imagine how nice that is, can't you, when they've been boiling hot all day and sweltering. Neil jumped into the river from Ananda's back and Chaya followed. She felt the heat and anger melt away as she splashed Neil with water and he splashed her back. "Come on in, Nawa," said Chaya, throwing water on her. Nawa remained on Ananda but laughed and splashed Chaya back, joining in the water fight while Ananda lowered himself into the river. She made a huge racket as she splashed and kicked water their way, turning her face to avoid the spray. "Look, Nawa, look at this," said Chaya. She climbed on Ananda and Nawa moved back to make space for her. "Dip, Ananda." Ananda stood up slowly and knelt down on his front legs, dipping his head down in front as Chaya and Nawa tilted forwards towards the river. Nawa yelped in shock while Chaya slid down Ananda's head and splashed into the river. "How did you do that?" shouted Neil, swimming up to them. In answer, Chaya reached over Ananda's head and vaulted up onto him, and he stood up with her facing his back. "I told you I know all the commands," she shouted, laughing at Neil's astonished face. "I'm going to have a go," said Neil, getting on Ananda. He tumbled down with a great crash onto the river, not at all graceful like Chaya. "Come on, Nawa, you too." "There is no way I am doing that," said Nawa. The clearing echoed with their shouts and laughs as they splashed and played around Ananda. Chaya felt worry bubble up inside her as she thought about the king's men coming after them. Coming after them. But she pushed it down for the moment. They had been in fear long enough. Afterwards they went ashore for food. Chaya went and found 2 papaya fruits and Neil cut them up with his knife. Ananda sprayed himself with sand, making Nawa cry out in dismay. "Why would he do that? He's just got clean." Chaya handed her a chunk of papaya. "It's just to keep himself from getting sunburnt." "No, it isn't. Neil, and she's messing with me, isn't she?" Neil laughed. "It's true. The sand also forms a layer of mud that pulls out any bugs on his skin when it falls off." "I can never tell with you, Chaya." Nawa frowned and settled herself against a stone. Chaya laughed. They sat eating the sweet orange pulp and sunning themselves on the rocks, their clothes drying to a crisp in no time. The sun slipped behind the trees and a warm breeze blew across the water. "Guess we'll have to get going," said Chaya. "But that was just great." Suddenly Neil frowned. "Did you hear that?" Nawa looked up sleepily. "What? I didn't hear anything." Neil held up a finger for them to be quiet. He turned to Chaya and Nawa. "Someone's coming." Next chapter's really short, we'll have one more. I'll just see if anyone else is on here. Oh my goodness! I don't know if my class has seen this, but our author has commented again, saying that it's lovely to see our class listening. How exciting! I'm really sorry, a couple of people have said it's frozen on theirs. I haven't had another message to say my connection's gone, so sorry. It might be better maybe if you can't watch it, when I post it afterwards to the page, it might be better to catch up then. Hi Steph, Steph's on as well, I've just seen. Okay, one more chapter. Chapter 20. The jungle felt eerily quiet. "We can't see anything from here," said Chaya. "Let me climb a tree." She climbed up a branching arida tree. A green vine snake slithered down a branch, but she ignored it and moved across to a taller tree, hopping from branch to branch until she reached the highest point. She perched at the top and surveyed her surroundings. From this angle, the jungle was a sea of different greens, as far as the eye could see, occasionally broken up by a rocky hill. Nothing looked out of the ordinary. The jungle was full of creatures she supposed that Neil must have heard one of them. I didn't pause then. The jungle was full of creatures. She supposed that Neil must have heard one of them. Chaya looked down to the ground and could just make him out, staring upwards into the tree, with Nawa mounted and waiting on Ananda. It was so calm and still up here. Underneath, the jungle pulsed, but up here, it was as if she were the only person in the world. Then something flashed on the hill to the left. Chaya squinted. There was movement. Horsemen, 2 of them, wiry and fast. Chaya slid down the branches, tearing her sleeve. "What took you so long?" said Neil. They're coming, said Chaya. We need to go. Come on, quick. Nawa moved up Ananda's back to make room for them. No, Nawa, Chaya's voice broke. We'll have to leave him. Nawa's mouth fell open. They're that close, said Neil. He rubbed Ananda's side. Come on, Nawa, down. Chaya pulled the bags off the elephant and threw them under some bushes. She put her cheek on Ananda's side and stroked him. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. You're going home now. The first sound of hoofbeats echoed through the trees. Chaya followed Neil and Nawa as they sprinted off past a startled Samba doe. Keep together, said Neil. Whatever you do, don't get separated. Branches whizzed past them as they pounded through the trees. The hoofbeats got closer and Chaya's ankle was starting to throb with a dull pain. Come on, Neil called, turning back and grabbing her by the wrist. They plunged down a tiny track, scattering a small troop of purple-faced monkeys. The hoofbeats were deafening now. Chaya stumbled and fell, scratching her legs painfully as Neil dragged her along. Nawa, wait, said Neil. We need to stay together. Trees started rustling behind them. Any minute now the horsemen would be right on their backs. Chaya ignored the pain and sprinted. Neil bolted from behind and Nawa picked up her speed too. They crashed through the wilderness and into a clearing. They were out in the open for maybe 2 seconds, but in that time Chaya heard the shout. The horsemen had seen them. With a great neighing of horses they galloped closer. Neil yanked Chaya's hand as they ran off the path into the dense undergrowth. There was no way a horse could follow them here. They heard the clatter and pull-up of hoofbeats and the thud as the 2 riders dismounted. It gave them the few minutes they needed. Chaya ignored her throbbing ankle and sprinted after Neil. They were single file here, and she saw Nawa's red dress flash up ahead, leading them. In a while, Neil slowed down. Chaya couldn't hear the riders any more. The 3 of them stopped, and Neil held a finger to his lips. Around them, birds sang, a cacophony of raucous sounds. The wind whistled through giant trees, and a flying squirrel soared through the air and scuttled up a branch. I think we've lost them, whispered Chaya, looking around the deep jungle. Trouble is, we're completely and utterly lost too. That's the end of chapter 20. It's quite a good way to end it, isn't it? Oh wow, Ryan's been playing on TTRS. Well done, Ryan, that's good. I hope everyone else has been as well. You know what we say about tables, my class especially. Good, so I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. I'm still in shock a little bit that our author that we so admire after reading this book is on there. That's amazing and so lovely. Wow. Good, so I hope you've enjoyed that, everybody. Hope you've all had a nice Tuesday, and hopefully everybody tuned into Mrs. Moody's Assembly this morning. I did, I loved it. Sang along from my dining room with Fat Albie, obviously. I think that's it. I don't think I've really got anything else to say. Thank you again, those people that have emailed me and sent me pictures of what they've been doing at home, and thank you everyone that's watched. And I will see you tomorrow at 5 for the next few chapters. I think we might be finished, I don't know, end of the week maybe? That's what we've read. That's what we've got left to read, so I don't think it'll be too long. So I will see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.